I missed a joke for Fat Hitler and Mein Kampf being a cookbook. Sorry.
Do you want to do it? I can insert it in.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, maybe I'll use this part as the header. And just be like, what the f*** are you talking about?
Yeah, seriously, what the f***? Old Man Logan and Fat Hitler?
Yeah. All right.
Gathered together from the cosmic reaches of the universe.
You mean our guest tonight is...
Dedicated to truth, justice, and peace. It's the world's greatest superpower show.
Hi, and welcome to Minding the Multiverse. My name is Gabriel.
And I'm Jeremy.
And we are here to talk about comics, culture, and hypothetical questions. So, Jeremy, if you could road trip across the U.S. with one Avenger, who would it be?
I think that if we're talking about the comic book version of the Avengers, I'm not really sure. Probably Captain America. If we're going with the movie, the MCU version, I think Vision would be fun to go on a road trip with, because he doesn't, like, he knows everything, but he doesn't know everything. Like, there's having the knowledge, but then also having the experience. You know, it's different.
Huh.
So he'd be all new to this stuff. So I think that would be kind of cool.
You'd be doing like a kung fu version of road tripping across the U.S.
Yeah, like he, you know, this
solving
guy,
problems as you go.
all the access to the internet and all the human knowledge, but like actually living it is totally different. So
see, I thought for sure you would say Tony, because like that would be like a full 5-star luxury road trip. Like,
yeah,
driving cross country with Tony Stark seems like it'd be more like a cool robot tour bus situation.
I feel like he would get tired of me, and I all of a sudden he'd just like forget, and like the bus would be gone, and he would just, you know, because of all the people he picked up along the way, I would have just gotten lost.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I couldn't keep up.
Tony does have a little bit of a sociopathic streak in him. So yeah. I could see that. I think that my answer would be, if we're sticking with MCU, it would be Fat Thor, because I think he'd be pretty chill, and we just kind of like, we'd probably take a Greyhound, like we'd just take a bus, like it'd be cool.
Yeah,
Like,
burgers every 5 miles, you know.
yeah.
Yeah,
It'd take you forever to get there, but you know, you'd have a good time.
he's pretty weepy. You'd have to give him a hug every now and again, though.
And you know what? I'm good at hugs, so I think we would do just fine.
Just as long as he doesn't get mad while he's hugging you and turn you into giblets.
or it sneezes particularly hard.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, next, imagine you're a supervillain. How far down your list of threats is Hawkeye?
Well, okay, yeah, pretty damn low. It's one of those things. It's
Right.
Yeah, I mean, comics are comics, and so you have people like Hawkeye that, you know, they make sense in the books. It works. You can write them however you want to write them, but
Yeah.
like if we were really, really talking real super people in the real world, Hawkeye ain't shit. It's like a gnat trying to fight a bus.
Yeah.
Ain't gonna work out in the gnat's favor.
Yeah, and it's hard to find a, you know, black and purple costume with wings on your face that intimidating too.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. All right, last one. Do you think the Hulk would make a good landlord?
Jesus. No. Landlords have to put up with too much shit, and I really don't think the Hulk has the patience to deal with my clogged toilet for the 100th time in a week. I think that
just see him ripping the toilet out of the floor. You don't get toilet anymore.
Yeah. Hulk, fix it. Leave Hulk alone.
You have lost toilet privileges.
And I don't know, you know, like if I, you know, say I'm an old elderly person and I can't change my own light bulbs, like is the Hulk, you know, is he dainty enough to be able to do that work, or would he have to hire people out? And that would just take things even longer. I'd have to wait for the person to show up. Like, no, I think Hulk would be terrible landlord.
On this point, I think that you're absolutely correct. And we're going to explore all of these questions this week when we cover 2008's Old Man Logan.
Yes.
Which is a favorite of mine. I have the trade paperback. I have it, you know, on digital. This is a favorite of mine. This is a go-to for me. So hopefully you enjoy my retelling of the story. I'm going to leave a few chunks out. I would love for you to experience that yourself, because this is written at a very quick pace. There's a lot of things to go into, and I'm going to leave some of those for you to discover yourself. And that goes for you too, Jeremy, because I know you haven't read this one.
Yeah, you see it everywhere. It's hugely popular. It's still going, right? Like, I mean, I think there's an Old Man Logan series that just has kept it going, or
yes, maybe
it's a retelling of Old Man Logan. But yeah, it's still a thing. It's still very popular. You see it at the comic book shop all the time.
Yes. So if that concept appeals to you, if you like your superheroes on the elderly side, then you will enjoy this story. All right. So this is an epic, legendary, best-selling 8-issue tale of Wolverine trying to pay his rent.
Which is strange because it's what a weird premise to start a book on, because I don't think I've ever read a comic book, like a mainstream hero book, that ever talked about superhero having bills. Like, yeah, obviously they would have bills, but you don't hear about it.
No, that was always kind of relegated to like more of like your New York heroes. Yeah, your Peter Parker, your Luke Cage, your Power Fist. Like, I'm sure Daredevil, but Daredevil was a lawyer, so he probably wasn't hurting for scratch.
He was. Yeah, I don't think he was hurting too much.
Foggy, maybe. Foggy seemed like he had pretty cheap suits. So this story is brought to us by Mark Miller, which I was pronouncing Millar because I heard Kevin Smith say it that way. Every interview I looked up, every thing I saw, it was pronounced Mark Miller. Kevin, if you hear this, keep saying Millar. It sounds fancy. In this story, we find ourselves in an alternate future universe designated Earth 807128. So
8675309.
Yes. This is the Rick Springfield universe. And everyone wears piano ties. So this is not our universe. This is kind of an alternate tale. So a few of the characters we encounter along the way are going to be similar versions of what we know, but changed a little bit.
Yeah.
One, through just the alternate universe aspect, and two, because this is a little bit ways in the future.
Doing it on another Earth is a nice, easy way to do whatever the hell you want with a story. So yeah. I like it. It doesn't mess with the stuff that's familiar or old or traditional. It's just, here's a different universe. Let's do whatever we want.
I do too. Like, I was always a big fan of what ifs when I was a kid.
Yeah.
That was my favorite. Just to be able to play with all those different ideas. And I have often equated this as kind of like the mother of all what if stories. You know, this kind of tweaks everything. This touches on really the entire MCU, and it's an alternative telling. It's a kind of a darker version of what we're used to. And I know, the darker version of superheroes has been, a theme for a while.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's an engaging way to tell a story, just kind of upping the ante and changing the stakes and all that. So here on Earth 807128, Logan has a family. He has a wife and 2 kids, and they eke out a living on a pig farm in Sacramento, in what used to be California.
What a strange place to start a story off, Sacramento.
That's where we started our story off.
Well, it's kind of for starting an epic journey for somebody like Wolverine. It's like, well, what hasn't been done? Hey, Sacramento. Okay.
Yeah. We're a ways out of Westchester, and the world has gone a little upside down, but we'll get more into that in a bit. The farm is struggling. The scenery is very reminiscent of the Dust Bowl. And unfortunately, the pigs got sick, and he wasn't able to sell any that season, which means that Logan is now going to be a little short on rent this month.
So weird.
Also, unfortunately, the Hulk is his landlord. So we meet a few of his kids who handle the day-to-day business of running Hulkland, formerly the Abominations territory, which covers the entirety of the West Coast. So
Hulkland.
Hulkland, it's very creative.
Yeah, that sounds exactly like what I call Hulkland, like it. I guess that's in keeping, huh?
Yeah. Hey, what you gonna call the place? Hulkland. All right, sounds great.
It's Hulk's land, so Hulkland. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. So, upside, we'd be living in Hulkland, which is easier to spell than California.
True.
And we'd also be living in the same state, again, because this is all just one state. So that would be neat. The downside, of course, is our landlords, collectively, would be the aforementioned inbred children of the Hulk and She-Hulk, his cousin.
Yeesh.
Yeah, yeah. So it turns out the only way the Hulk can have kids of his own is he has to do the horizontal mambo with another Hulk. And now there are a lot of Hulks, all doing it and making more little Hulks. And there is literally a Hulk trailer park that they all live in.
So Hulk is on this earth, he's the ultimate hillbilly, the most dangerous hillbilly to have ever existed.
Mm-hmm. So much so that he lives in a cave.
The Hulk lives in a cave.
Oh yeah, he's doing it. He's
and
doing
he's
it
a
for
landlord.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a Yeah, if your landlord lived under a rock, like that would be a weird, like where do you mail rent to?
No
like,
shit.
You leave it in the stump.
Leave it in this. Yeah. I would just start like, okay, obviously this guy doesn't need money, so here's 2 pigs for the season and some hides.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, from the looks of the Hulk kids, they have a pretty high hot topic bill. So they're going to need that scratch. Yeah, one of the main Hulk kids is like head to toe like in 9 Inch Nails gear.
Okay. He's an emo Hulk.
Yeah, he's got an emo haircut, the whole thing. You got to see it, I'm telling you.
Are these little Hulklings, are they just as strong as the Hulk, or are we talking about like diluted a bit as things go on?
Nope. These are 2 Hulks that got together and made other Hulks.
So they're straight up just Hulks.
Yeah. So imagine you're late on rent and 3 Hulks come to your house for you to pay out.
Jesus.
So that's what Logan's looking down at. That's what Logan's looking down the barrel at here is 3 Hulks to come and collect. So they come to pay a visit to our old friend Logan, who is literally our old friend now. He's sporting silver hair and a face full of wrinkles. And they take turns beating on him until they get bored.
Jeez.
And they know who he is. They know he'll heal. They know he won't fight back either. So they don't hold back.
Which is strange that Wolverine won't fight back.
Right. And they mention it. I heard you were a real tough guy back in the day. Take your lickings. And he does. And he gets beat pretty thoroughly. Now, this beating buys Logan and his family 1 month. And if they don't pay double next month, Logan and his whole family dies. So Logan recovers, of course.
Right.
And is visited by an elderly and blind Hawkeye, one of the last remaining superheroes.
Jesus Christ. Okay, so Hawkeye's not a superhero. he's a hero. And there was nothing super about him other than his eyes, and now he's blind as well?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds like he's doubly useless.
And he's rocking a sweet Willie Nelson haircut.
Nice. He'd be like in his 70s or more, right?
Yes. Yep, that's about right. I would square him at about 70.
Okay.
So Hawkeye wants to pay Logan to join him on a cross-country road trip to deliver a package. And also, by the way, Hawkeye being blind doesn't stop him from being the driver. Logan is riding shotgun during most of this trip.
Okay.
Yeah. And guess what they're driving? It's the spider buggy.
Nice.
Do you remember the spider buggy?
Vaguely, yeah.
All right. It's like a big Spider-Man themed dune buggy, and it's ridiculous.
Badass.
It can also climb completely vertical surfaces and jump off anything and land safely. So it's like if plot armor had wheels.
Awesome. Everybody needs a plot armor buggy.
It's pretty sweet. And this leads me to one of the things I wanted to mention before we get too far into this, is this story is chock-a-block full of Marvel references. So like I mentioned earlier, this takes place in a post-superhero world.
Right.
And in this world, there was one final brouhaha, as there are in the Marvel universe every now and then. But this time the villains won. And this is their world now.
So they didn't just win, like they seriously wiped out heroes. They killed them all.
They're donezo.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a few kind of scattered around, and we'll touch on that a little bit later, but they're kind of in their own enclave. They've made some bargains, and they're just laying low.
Interesting.
And these are some heroes that were kind of on the fence before.
Right.
They won't surprise you who compromised.
Gotcha.
And littered across the landscape of the U.S. is evidence of this final battle. So you can visit Thor's hammer, as it lays unliftable in Hammer Falls, Nevada.
Right.
And also Nevada is now owned by the Kingpin.
Of course.
But only after he killed Magneto for it.
Oh, okay. So there's some infighting as well.
Yeah, but we don't actually see any of that part. All that's history at this point. But we get glimpses of, like, you know, the villains won, and then there was some more kind of tumultuous period, and now it's kind of leveled out.
Yeah, this is a very settled era. Things are settled-ish, right? Like there's not a lot of warring going on. Everything is kind of the status quo now.
Right.
Okay.
And we encounter all sorts of stuff like that. And another kind of cool one is we encounter a supernatural biker gang modeled after Ghost Rider.
That's cool.
So they're all on motorcycles with big flaming wheels, and they got spikes on their head, and they got face paint, but they're people.
They're just right.
So I don't know, you know, I don't think they're super powered at all, but still flaming motorcycle guys.
Yeah.
Pretty metal.
It's pretty awesome, yeah.
And along our way, we meet Hawkeye's third ex-wife, Tanya, who is Peter Parker's youngest daughter. So that's another little tie-in.
Okay.
And in this story, you know, Tanya's 50.
Right.
So it doesn't seem that inappropriate, but when you think, like, Hawkeye married Peter Parker's youngest daughter.
Right. It's
Parker is a bit younger than Clint, I think.
Right. It's a little weird.
But it's okay. You know, we're all old now. And Hawkeye and Tanya, they have a daughter together, and her name is Ashley. And Ashley has formed her own super team and is going to take on the Kingpin, who in this universe seems to be modeled off of Suge Knight.
Oh, that guy's a real winner. So, yeah, I could see how that would be a good source for Kingpin. Yeah.
Yeah. But unfortunately, Ashley's team, comprised of new hip versions of Spider-Man, Daredevil, and what looks like the Punisher, are captured. And Hawkeye wants to detour to save them, you know, old school Avengers style. Logan says he'll go with them, but only as a driver. He won't fight. Logan doesn't fight anymore.
He doesn't fight. Interesting.
Yeah. But it doesn't really matter much because new Daredevil and Punisher are dispatched rather quickly in an arena reminiscent of a Roman Colosseum. Instead of feeding them to lions, Kingpin feeds them to velociraptors.
Wait, what? So
yeah, did I mention there are dinosaurs in this book?
Dinosaurs too. Okay.
Yeah, because there's a lot of dinosaurs in this book.
So what's that? What's that? That island, Genosha? No, where God,
you're very close. You're dead on.
Yeah.
So Hawkeye informs us that they're Savage Land imports.
Savage Land. That's
what you were thinking of. And that the Midwest is covered in them. Apparently they were all the rage for a few years as pets, but they're very expensive to keep. So a lot of them got dumped, and now there are hundreds roaming around.
Jesus.
Which, fun fact, is exactly how I got chickens. Someone dumped a rooster and a hen at the end of my road, and so now I have chickens.
People dumping dinosaurs all over the place. What the hell?
Yeah. And chickens are like little dinosaurs, so I really related to this bit.
Are. Look at their feet. That's all the evidence you need.
Yeah, look at the way they run. Like they're ridiculous little dinosaurs. It's
awesome.
Really hilarious. All right, so we deal with Ashley, and which is a story that pans out a little differently than you might expect. So I'll leave that alone for you to enjoy. It doesn't really affect the overall story, but it's a fun little morsel stashed away in there.
Nice. Okay.
You will enjoy it. So
very nice.
We're back on the road, and as we're driving through South Dakota, we encounter a wild venom symbiote watching our travelers from a hillside. It's just like a big gooey mass. It's just hanging out there.
Not attached to anything? That's strange.
Nope, just hanging out. It looked like one of those old little squid things, those sticky things you could throw against the glass and it would like crawl down the... You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Used to get them as like a prize inside cereal boxes. That's what it looks like.
That's awesome. I thought the venom symbiote had to attach to something relatively quickly or else it would die. But okay, that's cool.
Yeah. And maybe this far into the future, maybe it's adapted.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a different symbiote. I don't know.
Yeah, like a different...
But it has the look. It looks like venom. It's our classic black and white,
right?
But like in a puddle form. That's gross.
A goo form.
And this perch that this symbiote is hanging out on is overlooking a newly renovated Mount Rushmore, now featuring Red Skull carved next to old Abe Lincoln.
Okay. Yeah, good spot for a Nazi face. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, right. All right, so it's at this point we finally find out what happened the night the villains finally won.
Okay.
So it was a collective effort spearheaded by Red Skull, and he was able to organize all of Marvel's psychopaths together into one coordinated attack over the course of one night. And the brilliance of Red Skull's plan is this. He played a little OkCupid. He matched the villains to the weaknesses of the heroes. That's it. I imagine he had a spreadsheet in front of him. It was like, all right, ice powers, heat guy. All right, here we go. He got organized.
So it's a story of hey, let's stop fucking around, get our shit together, and the way we've been doing it doesn't make sense. Like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. It's the greatest tale of corporate project management in all of history. So, for example, we cut to 50 years ago, and we're in the X-Mansion, and we see Wolverine and Jubilee in their costumes. So, old school. We're back in a world we kind of recognize. Right? And Jubilee is behind a bank of computer screens and tells Wolverine that they're receiving distress calls from everywhere.
Oh, wow.
The Avengers, S.H.I.E.L.D., Fantastic Four, Wakanda, everybody. At that point, there's an explosion, and we see a gaggle of villains storm in. And the house is being overrun. And just for an example, we see Strife, Doc Ock, the Shocker, Bullseye, the Blob, Scorpion, Silver Samurai, one of your favorites, Green Goblin, Mr. Sinister, Sabretooth, Wendigo, and like a dozen more I didn't recognize.
Yeah, that's a lot of people.
That's a real threat.
Yeah.
That's like a code red situation.
That is a lot. I mean, just the Blob by itself is big, bad juju for them. It takes a lot of people to take down just the Blob.
Every one of these is a team effort.
Right.
And now you have a team of them.
Shit.
Jubilee is killed in the explosion. And so Wolverine does what he does best and begins a wholesale slaughter. And he is in full berserker mode and is just shredding through these villains. Now, you know what that looks like. We've been through this before with good old Wolverine. And then he sees he's fighting alone. None of the other X-Men are there to help him defend the mansion. And that's when Mysterio steps out of the shadows.
Oh, no.
And as the illusion fades, we see what's really been happening. Wolverine was fighting against the X-Men this whole time.
Oh, shit.
Mysterio was able to trick him into killing every single member of the X-Men.
Wow. And you know what? That makes sense because we all know that Wolverine could kill everybody in the X-Men no problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In my opinion.
And we also know he's a little quick to anger.
Right. And he's almost unstoppable. He goes up against the Hulk many times and he just comes back. How do you fight against somebody like Wolverine?
And Logan even tells us that Mysterio was even able to change everyone's scent.
Wow.
That's what really did it. And then we pan out and we see the aftermath. And every one of the X-Men has been cut to pieces and are scattered around the mansion.
Oh, shit. Well, what about like Colossus?
In pieces.
What? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
I think he might have got to him before he changed.
Yeah.
So we learn all this around a campfire with Logan and Hawkeye, and Logan tells him that's why he hasn't popped his claws since.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
He can't trust himself.
Right.
So that's that. And we also learn how Hawkeye was able to survive the superhero massacre. Turns out Red Skull just kind of forgot he was a superhero. He's like super good at archery, so he wasn't like really high up the threat list.
Yeah, most of those guys, could take an arrow straight to their body anyway. I mean, except for maybe Bullseye. That's hilarious.
So let's take another look at that map I mentioned earlier. So it's divided into 4 major territories, divided into vertical bands across the U.S. The Hulk has the West Coast, and after that we have the Kingdom of the Kingpin, then Doom's Lair. And then finally, the entire East Coast is now known as the President's Quarter and is run by the President, Red Skull.
The president of just his quarter? Like, I would imagine that Doom, Kingpin, and Hulk wouldn't allow him to be president over them.
Yeah, I think the rules are very supervillain centric.
Right.
I think yeah, it's like in a really extreme version of the GOP has like finally taken over, and then they're all fine with it. I think I'm not sure like how the rules work, but I think if Red Skull like tried to raise Hulk's taxes, I probably wouldn't go well.
Yeah, probably wouldn't work. Yeah.
And there aren't many major cities left, it seems. They were either destroyed in the battle or have been completely consumed back underground by the Moloids.
The Moloids?
Yeah. So I think Mole Man accidentally dug too deep and found a species living underground that have like little slits for eyes. They live in complete darkness. And they dig holes and consume entire cities.
Interesting.
And now they're seen as almost like the planet's white blood cells. Okay. It's just taking everything down and resetting. So we run into a few cases of Moloid attack. They're very creepy, but they're fun. It's a fun addition.
they're Oh, okay. Okay, so they just kind of pop up. A sinkhole opens up, yep. And Moloids come out and just sink the whole area, and you're screwed.
Yeah, and as an example of kind of how the dynamic has changed, at one point during their road trip, they cross through a town that's no longer there. It's on their map, but it's just flat. And then they see a church spire sticking out of the ground at like a weird angle. And there's a guy who's hanging onto the cross of the church steeple. And that's the only thing left above the ground. And he's completely freaking out. And they pull over the spider buggy and say, "Hey, buddy, you okay?" And he says, "The whole town just disappeared. I just climbed to the highest point. I don't know what to do." And they're like, "All right, cool." And they leave him.
What else are you going to do, I guess, huh?
That's it. It's literally that. It's like, hey, man, it's not our problem. We got a delivery to make. Like, there's no, like, the Avengers aren't really the same anymore. We're not really helping people.
No.
So, Logan and Hawkeye, they finally make their way into Doom territory and get picked up by surveillance by Emma Frost, Dr. Doom's wife.
Ooh.
And we talked earlier about some people making some concessions to stay alive. So we have a few of the Inhumans pop up in here. They were moon people. They were kind of,
right.
They weren't like Americans.
No,
they're like whatever. Yeah.
They don't really like to be considered part of the human race. Anyway, I mean, they're not humans, so right. I mean, there's that. But yeah, okay, right. Makes sense that they'd be like, whatever.
Yeah. And so Emma Frost, she sees that our friends are in a little trouble because remember that wild Venom symbiote I mentioned earlier?
Yeah.
Well, it found a new host, and Eddie Brock be damned, this symbiote attached onto a T-Rex.
A T-Rex Venom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Imagine how awesome that would be.
Absolutely terrifying. Jesus. Although I would like to see a T-Rex web swinging from those little arms. That'd be hilarious. Like, you don't have to do that.
It hits its ass on the ground immediately. Thunk. I wish they would have done that.
Yeah, it would have been amazing.
That's a missed opportunity. All right. If they do that in future episodes of Old Man Logan, let us know in the comments, because if so, I want to see that. I will go get that issue.
Yeah.
In particular, I will find that one.
That's a hang on the wall panel right there. Venom T-Rex web swinging across New York.
Oh man. That is a delightful thought.
Yeah, I love it.
Instead, we cut to our boys being pursued OG Jurassic Park style. And Logan is driving, and Hawkeye's in the back of the spider buggy, just wildly shooting into the air, because remember, he's blind. At that point, Logan sees someone in all black standing right in their path. And Logan swerves out of the way, and the man in black whispers, "Stop." And the symbiote is shredded off the T-Rex and both entities lay dead. And the Man in Black is Black Bolt.
Okay.
And Venom's weakness?
Well, yeah, sound, right, yeah. Okay. Well, if Black Bolt is still alive, I mean, he's pretty fucking powerful. Why? Okay, so I guess him being one of the... Yeah, he wouldn't really care, huh? Okay, keep going. Sorry.
No, but that's an excellent point. You bring up an excellent point because Hawkeye says the exact same thing.
Yeah, he's really fucking strong. Black Bolt's one of the strongest. I mean,
he tells Emma, he goes, "You have Black Bolt. What's stopping you? You could shred all these people. What's your problem?" And she says, "Hey, listen, we made our concessions. We made our deals. It's none of your business." Okay. And that's it. Black Bolt now looks like Darth Vader with his helmet off, though. He just looks like this white thumb.
So I wonder what the story behind that is. Something happened to him.
Dude, man, something's happened to everybody in this story. It is a rough future.
Yeah, everybody's got some trauma.
Yeah. So we're brought after that to Doom's City, which is a refuge for mutants. So you might have asked yourself by now, why haven't any other supers popped up in the last 50 years? It's definitely enough time to create a new super team. What's the holdup? It's at that point we're informed here by Emma that there are approximately 20 mutants left in the world, and not a single mutant has been born in 40 years.
Interesting.
The mutants were a genetic blip that has never happened again.
So it was a fluke.
That was it. Hope is gone.
Yeah, right.
Welcome to the theme of the story. Hope is gone.
Yeah, they don't exist anymore. So
yeah. So the boys get patched up and get put back on their way, and this is when we finally find out what Hawkeye is delivering. This whole time, we've assumed it's drugs. That's what Logan thinks. Hawkeye doesn't correct him. Times are tough. And we find out, like, what has been so important that they're continuing on even after getting attacked by a Venom T-Rex. Because if that were me, that would be time to call it.
Seriously.
Like things just keep getting worse.
Right.
Like, things keep getting worse, and we just found an ancient apex predator possessed by an alien.
Yeah.
So I'm going to head out.
Yeah, fuck. Like, okay, what's in this box? What's in the box?
So what Hawkeye is carrying, what they've been carting across the U.S., is super serum.
Oh.
This is how they're going to make new superheroes.
Super serum as in super soldier serum?
I think so. Now, he calls it super serum. He doesn't call it super soldier serum. So I don't know. I don't know if it's the same thing or if it maybe triggers mutations. I don't know. But they're just these little vials.
Okay.
And he's got a whole case full of them.
Because if it's super soldier serum, I mean, if you have a bunch of Captain Americas running around, that's not a bad start. You know what I mean?
No, not at all. And he's got a whole case of them.
Okay.
So, look at that. Hope returned.
Hope returns in the form of vials in a box.
Hope renewed through drugs. All right.
Yay.
So we continue on our journey, and now we're heading to our end game here. And we pass through what's known as Pym Falls, creatively named because it's a major highway that runs through the now skeletal corpse of Ant-Man at full height.
Oh, shit.
Now, from the entrance drilled into the top of his skull through the exit coming out of exactly where you're imagining, looks to be about a mile. So he went down hard.
Oh, shit. Oh, jeez.
Now, Pym's enormous corpse also acts as the entrance to New Babylon, Red Skull's capital city, which is Washington, D.C., but now with a bunch of fascist-y Red Skull statues celebrating him crushing all of the heroes. It's pretty dark.
Amazing clothes. One thing Nazis had was an awesome tailor.
Yeah. Hugo Boss is back in business at the Capitol. And Red Skull really brings back the uniforms, too. You can tell that he really missed the tightly tailored black suits.
I mean, every Nazi's got the priorities, right? So
yeah. Well, we'll get into what he's wearing here in a little bit. It may be it may not be what you're expecting.
Oh no. Okay.
And this is where we learned that Red Skull was behind the coordinated attack, and that is why he gets to be president.
Because him soup's smart, right?
It was his idea. Yeah. And I also think this might have been where Donald Trump got his insurrection plan. But Donald Trump is no Red Skull.
Donald Trump had a bunch of conspiracitards on his side, and Red Skull had actual supervillains. So
yeah, an army of supervillains probably beats like an army of angry boomers and neckbeards.
Yeah, with internet courage.
So Logan and Hawkeye enter New Babylon, and they meet with some underground resistance fighters. All right, so this is who Hawkeye has been meeting up with.
Of course, there's going to be the resistance, yes.
Right, exactly. And they're going to be right underfoot because, they are at the Capitol there.
Sure.
And they're the ones who have asked Hawkeye to procure the super serum for them so that they can start a new Avengers and take the villains down. And Hawkeye exchanges them 99 vials of serum for a briefcase full of cash. And Hawkeye tells them that he can get them more, but he wants a spot on their team and a dose for himself.
Ah.
And they tell him, hey, you're, no offense,
you're fucking old.
And also blind. But he says, hey, I need revenge. All right? Like, this sucked. And he practically begs them for a shot on the new team. And his contacts, they're working within Red Skull's government, right? So
right, yeah.
Doing the resistance, through the ground up. And his contact looks like Fat Hitler, which is a weird conversation to have, like a Fat Hitler resistance fighter. But he agrees. And Hawkeye's overjoyed, like literal, like tears in his eyes, like, fuck yeah, like I'm back.
Like finally gonna get some shit done. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. That's when Hitler's crew lights up Logan with machine gun fire.
Oh, shit.
It turns out it was a sting all along. Fat Hitler and his crew are actually agents for Red Skull, and Hawkeye takes a bullet to the chest. And he tells Fat Hitler to go fuck himself, and that he's not going to beg for mercy. And Fat Hitler says, okay, and sinks a bullet into Hawkeye's forehead. And that's it for Hawkeye. He didn't deserve to go out dirty like that.
Trusted the wrong Fat Hitler.
Yeah, never trust Fat Hitler. That's a lesson you can take with you from this podcast.
Never trust Fat Hitler.
Don't trust Skinny Hitler. Anybody who sports that mustache who's not Michael Jordan in the late 90s for some reason, don't trust him.
Yes.
So we open the next issue in Red Skull's trophy room, and he's surrounded by displays of superhero artifacts.
Mm.
And we see a broken silver surfboard. We see the cape of Doctor Strange. We see Cyclops' visor. We see the Vision's severed head.
Oh, shit.
Sorry about your road trip plans. We see the Thing's severed arm. Ugh, gross. And a nearly complete set of Iron Man armor, along with Cap's shield, way up high on a big display.
You think about, like, some of these artifacts, like the Silver Surfer's broken surfboard, and it's like, how the hell did they come together to beat the Silver Surfer? Like, what?
They went cosmic.
That's what I'm saying. Like that, I know that's probably not part of the story, and it was probably never revealed how they did beat somebody like the Silver Surfer. But how did they beat Thor? Freaking Thor, right.
Right.
Interesting.
And there's a lot of that through this storyline where you'll just find out somebody died, or you'll see an artifact of somebody. We see Loki's enormous corpse.
Right.
All that's left is the skeleton and the horns and the costume. There's a little left.
Right.
Yeah. Like, did Red Skull have a conference call with Galactus? Like, did they coordinate on that level?
I want to say, like, it's neat little nods. Like, yeah, this all happened. All of these people had to be taken care of for this scenario to really work. But how do you write that and it actually be like, I know it's not all, quote unquote believable. Right. How does the villains, how do they go about beating the Silver frickin' Surfer? So yeah.
Right.
They can ignore it. They can just show what happened or they can show the end result rather than how they got there.
Right. Yeah. And that's that cool part of like that 50-year jump is like, that's all history to them. They don't talk about that anymore. So it's not, it's okay that it's not mentioned in the story. They wouldn't be talking about it 50 years later,
Yeah. It's old canon.
Yeah. And it also, it's peppered into the story so much that it kind of answers these questions as they rise up in you as a reader. Well, it's like, oh, well, what about these people? Oh, they're dead.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well.
Okay.
Oh, well. What about these? Oh, they're dead too. Okay. And so, like, as you're going through, it just kind of gets more and more like the scope of it becomes bigger and bigger. You know, it wasn't just the human heroes. It wasn't just the space heroes. It wasn't even just the galactic. I mean, it was everybody somehow got taken down.
Yeah, somehow. And the writers get an out because they don't actually have to tell that story. It's not the point.
Right. And also, like, all of these trophies may not have been done in the same night.
Sure.
Because Hawkeye gets brought back to the trophy room as a trophy. So Red Skull's still collecting trophies. And he literally mentions that he just kind of forgot about Hawkeye and now he feels bad. And he wants to put something of his in with, like, Parker's and Stark stuff. Because they were Avengers. Like, that seems from a museum perspective, a completist. Yeah. And we also see Red Skull, who is an old man. He's got wrinkles on his, skull.
On his skull.
He's also wearing Captain America's costume.
Huh?
He just walks around in it. It doesn't fit him. They look like giant pajamas.
Oh my geez.
He's just a weird old man. He just walks around in this stuff.
Still obsessed. Like, okay, you miss your boyfriend. Yeah. That's what it sounds like. So he wears clothes.
It really is.
Yeah.
Now, he requested that Hawkeye be brought to him because he knew that Hawkeye was, this is part of the plan.
Add to the collection, yeah.
Right. What Red Skull doesn't know is that Logan was brought along too. Now, up to this point, he was just a nameless nobody who got caught in the crossfire.
Right.
But our old friend Wolvie wakes up and quickly wastes the various henchmen in the trophy room.
Did he pop his claws?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what we're dealing with. Like, he did it with his hands.
His mittens, yeah.
And Red Skull challenges him to a fight and sweetens the deal by telling Logan that the night the heroes died was all his idea and really rubs it in. And
I'm glad you said rubs it in rather than said really rubs one out.
Oh, no.
Wearing Captain America's costume.
I'm sure it wouldn't be the first time.
I think about it all the time.
Yeah, that's probably irregular.
Probably.
And so the fight breaks out with Logan just defending himself. And, it goes on and it goes on, and he's taking hits, And then he finally grabs Cap's shield off the wall just to hold Red Skull off. And I think this sparks a little PTSD in Red Skull, and he hesitates for just a moment seeing the old shield raised up against him.
Right.
Again, after all these years.
Yeah, and Red Skull's still, I mean, he might be old, but he's still super soldier. He's still got the serum in him.
Oh, yeah. He actually locks the doors to the room they're in. He doesn't want backup. He wants to make sure Wolverine doesn't escape. Red Skull has all the confidence in the world that he's going to be able to take Wolverine down.
Sure.
Especially knowing that Wolverine's a pacifist now. Probably makes it easier, right? Now, Logan takes that opportunity of Red Skull kind of seizing up for a second, and he knocks him back with the shield and tells him to stay down. And Red Skull calls his bluff and tells him, you don't have the guts anymore to finish this job.
Right, yeah, he won't pop his claws, right?
Right, yeah, I mean, they've been going back and forth for a while now. Like, you ain't going to do this. And it's at that point, Logan decapitates him with the shield.
Yes.
Oh, it's so metal. It's so awesome.
That a boy.
And so with that, Logan grabs a briefcase full of cash that was from the sting earlier, and he also grabs the top half of an old Iron Man suit and takes off. Luckily, it still works.
That's good.
And also, luckily, he still has the repulsor parts of the hands.
Right.
Because he turns around and destroys the White House in the process.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, and which also, as I was writing that, I was like, I really hope this soundbite doesn't end up with me on a watch list somewhere.
No shit.
Again, this is Earth 8675309. Yeah. This is a different. This is not us. This is
not our Earth. A comic book, not real. Yes.
Yeah. Take it up with Rick Springfield.
He went straight up Independence Day on the White House, though, huh? Just, pew.
Yes. Yeah, because why hold on to it now?
Yeah,
got Nazi stink on it.
There's no washing that out, so got to tear it down and start over.
Yeah, you can have all the Clorox wipes in the world, man. That's COVID 2051, and it's out. So, with that, does Logan make it back in time to pay his rent? Does the Hulk gang honor their word and let him return home peacefully? Does he get to go back to being a farmer? spoiler alert, no.
No. Things never go that well for Wolvie.
No, but I will let you find out for yourself, because this has one more like roller coaster hill left, and the payoff is incredible, and I think you might enjoy reading it for yourself. So I'm going to leave that for you to enjoy.
Fantastic.
This is one of my most favorite story arcs, and I always recommend it, like, to everybody. It's really well written, the art is incredible, and the pace is supersonic. Like, you'll rip through this thing in a sitting, even though it's 8 issues long. It's a big chunk of story, but man, it's like spider buggy speed. It
Very
just
nice.
goes.
Spider buggy speed.
Yeah. So definitely give it a read. I can almost guarantee you'll enjoy it. So I think I've finally sold you.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a try. I've been looking at, like, as we've been talking, I've been looking up pictures and stuff of some panels and just checking out the art. The art's really good. You know, some of these things are real nasty looking. Those Hulk hillbillies are gross.
Ooh, yeah, they are not pleasant. Yeah, the gross things are gross, and the cool things are metal as fuck. So
yeah, old Wolverine looks pretty metal himself. It's weird though, his hair is short. I didn't expect his hair. His hair's like super short.
Yeah. No, he's he's getting more conservative in his old age. You know, high and tight.
Too much of a hassle. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely give it a shot. That's for sure.
All right. Good. I'm glad. Yeah, I can almost, like I said, I can guarantee you'll enjoy it. So
yeah, you know what I'm looking forward to reading it is if it happens in the first arc, I don't know, but I want to find out when old man who won't pop his claws says, "Fuck it, I'm popping these fucking claws," and then watch him wreak havoc.
And it happens.
Oh, yes.
Very soon after we leave off. So you won't have to wait long. And it's not a spoiler, but when it finally happens, you get a 2-page spread of just the word "snicked," and you are so ready for it.
Hell yeah! I mean, it's iconic, you know.
It is, and you can, like, it's one of those words you can hear.
Exactly.
You read it, like, I'm ready.
Yep.
It's a very satisfying bridge to that next part of the story, which is just
awesome.
Right after where we leave off. So enjoy. It's a fun one.
I look forward to it. Yeah, I'm gonna go pick it up ASAP.
Good. I'm glad, and I recommend everyone who's listening to this, if you haven't read it, if you're not familiar with this one, if you're not like me and this is like one of your favorites, definitely check it out. There's a lot more to the story that is left to discover.
Awesome.
So, all right, well, that will move us on to the hold list, where we talk about the other things we're enjoying, comic related and otherwise. And this one is from both of us. We were both checking it out.
Yeah.
And I wanted to touch on the Midnight Gospel. The Midnight Gospel is a new animated series on Netflix from comedian and fellow podcaster Duncan Trussell. And it's not going to surprise anyone listening to this by now that, like, it's weird animation with cool audio. Like, that's just like my thing, apparently. So this is in that vein of kind of experimental animation, video, audio stuff that I thought was pretty cool. And the premise is this: each episode revolves around Clancy, who is a spacecaster. And Clancy travels through virtual worlds by using a simulator, and the beings inhabiting these worlds are the guests he interviews for his Spacecast. Kind of sound familiar? It's like a podcast, but in space. So these interviews are based on actual interviews from Duncan Trussell's podcast, the Duncan Trussell Family Hour. So, for example, the first episode has Clancy traveling to a world overrun by zombies. But the zombies are relegated to the back seat pretty quickly because the main story is about Clancy interviewing the president of this world, and they talk almost exclusively about psychotropic drug use.
Which is a pretty regular topic when it comes to Duncan Trussell and any of his friends.
Yes. Yeah. So if you're familiar with Duncan Trussell, this will be familiar territory for you, but in a very unique visual medium.
Yes. Who was it by, you said? It's
So the animation is done by Pendleton Ward, who created Adventure Time.
Yeah. And you know it immediately. When you see it, you're like, oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah, he has one of those distinct styles that as soon as you see it, and much like Adventure Time, it has a similar kind of organic breathing type of world. It's very dreamlike, almost like hallucinatory, which fits the subject matter as
yeah, totally fits it. Yeah, it's not out of place whatsoever.
No. And you picked up on this when you were watching it, but the president of this world is played by Dr. Drew, who again isn't really playing the president. This is all audio taken from a podcast and then repurposed for the animation. So to me, it's kind of a neat effect. So in this case, it creates a lot of like fun scenes where the dialogue is two guys talking about mindfulness and meditation while also dodging zombies and stealing hot air balloons.
Yeah. It's interesting because you can also tell that they did record lines to kind of flesh out the scene in the actual animation. So basically, they come across folks and they actually talk to them. So like a lady's giving birth and they're like helping her through the birthing process and stuff like that. So they do kind of tie them to the world with dialogue.
Yeah,
but you can tell that it's definitely just a podcast with a little bit of extras to make an episode work as an episode of a show, though, too.
And I was curious about that too, because as I was watching it, and you may have seen this kind of thing on YouTube too, where someone will animate a part of a podcast, and they can kind of cut and splice things together to change the context, or they can change it into a song or something like that. And so I was curious about that too. I was wondering if they went back and recorded new pieces to fit into the atmosphere, or if they're literal pieces of the conversation that have been changed around to fit the circumstance. So like I know at one point the Clyde character, who's voiced by Duncan Trussell, he lifts the president, the Dr. Drew character, into like a basket, and he's like, oh, here, let me get that for you.
Right.
I mean, is that audio from like before they started the podcast? Like we have, we record a little bit beforehand. Is it like him handing him a cup of coffee? Like, have they taken all these bits out and repurposed them to fit the world? I don't know. I actually want to do kind of some more research on that.
So I feel, without doing any research, I kind of feel like the idea is, this is what I think. I think that they sit down and they have a topic and they do a podcasty, structured talk like normal, but they probably have, it's either during or after they record that. My guess is that they have a loose story for each episode. And so like when the lady in the episode is giving birth, they kind of interrupt the flow of their conversation about drugs.
Oh, that's right. Because he like corrects them in the Lamaze practice.
That's right. He starts saying, "No,
it's breathe. No,
you can't breathe. Do it.
Push.
No, yeah."
Damn zombies. What happens if we don't turn our backs?
What?
And zoom in on the thing and see what is this fractal? And it's really an interesting practice. Just all right.
And push.
Breathe.
Oh no.
You can do this.
Push. Breathing's before.
But
push.
then you breathe. Isn't it breathing?
No, it's the push.
Oh, hello, dear.
Let's get out of here.
In Buddhism, the idea is all of those mental forms of analysis of these things are kind of secondary to.
Yeah, there's push, but you can't breathe during the push. So yeah, there's I think that they either go back afterwards and record lines for the episode to make that part work, or they have an actual script, not so much the discussion, but like at this point, this is what happens, and so they voice that. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm with you. I think it's either that, because all the people who seem to orbit, that podcast, they all seem to, they're all in LA, they're all kind of friends with each other. So I could see them doing a recording session pretty easily and pretty quickly.
Absolutely.
But then I also think about that great Game Grumps music piece that I've sent to you, where it really seems like they're playing piano together, and it really seems like they're playing instruments together, because even the audio is like, he said, like, Dan says things like, oh, you're really good at doing the bass line, but in reality he's talking about a video game that they were playing like 2 years earlier.
Yeah,
and it's all stitched together to where almost, it really, if you didn't know these two, you would think that they were musicians coordinating on a song together.
And I remember that video, and it was fantastic. And that's like a masterclass example of editing sound bites, right? It's telling a story by having deep knowledge of that body of work to be able to pull from that far back. You have to listen and take notes of every single thing they've ever recorded to know where that shit comes from. And so if that's something that they did, if somebody said, here's an episode of the Duncan Trussell Family Hour, edit it the way you need to make an episode for Netflix, whoever did the editing is a magician.
Yes. Yeah. So
which is obviously very possible.
Yeah, and I'm of two minds. So it can really be one or the other. Both are impressive. But like you said, that the Game Grumps musical piece is a masterclass in editing, and that was able to show me what is possible. When I first heard that, I was like, oh my god, like you can kind of do that kind of stuff with editing. And that was when I was first getting into producing and editing and stuff. So that really stuck with me. So you phrased it perfectly. That's like the level that it's at. So I can always assume, okay, that is possible. So everything underneath is always going to be a gray area. But it just that one aspect of it just spurred us to talk about it for like 10 minutes. So that's how interesting this is.
Yeah, it's really cool. I couldn't really relate super like deep to the actual story of the episode. They're talking about taking trips into space and shit, and I don't have any kind of experience with that. So it was hard for me to relate to that episode by itself. But the imagery, is awesome. It's clever. It's real fun to watch.
Yes, I agree. And I don't think you're alone in that, because I actually started playing it while my wife was like on the couch playing on her phone. She didn't see what I picked on Netflix. And about 10 minutes into it, I got a very confused, like, what are we watching?
Right.
And that's a reaction I get a lot in my life.
What the fuck?
May not surprise you. But that's an experience I enjoy. Something that's just out there is something that always like tickles me. So, and it was a really unique experience. And if you like interesting animation, and if you like podcasts, which if you're here with us, you probably do,
right?
Check out the Midnight Gospel on Netflix. It was really cool. Like it was a really interesting experience.
I'll probably give it a couple other watches. See what the other episodes' content might be about, and see if the animation is widely different, or if the style that first episode is very pink, does that hold, or do they change the palette for every episode? No. Right. Yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah, we're both gonna be digging more into it. So that's what this kind of came from both of us. We were both, and we both came at it from different places too. So it was like we were both able to appreciate it on different levels. So I think that you might enjoy it too if you're listening here with us.
I think so.
And before we move on from this segment, I actually wanted to share one scene specifically. And this scene plays at the very end of the first episode. And it's a scene that really spoke to me as an independent podcaster.
Thank you so much, oh great denizens of the multiverse, for listening to Midnight Gospel. And to my one subscriber, Hernogg Jensen, I live for you. You're the reason I wake up in the morning with a smile on my face. So keep listening, Hernogg, and I'll see you in your dreams.
All right, that will lead us to our next segment, because our hero of the week this week is someone very special to us.
Absolutely.
It's YouTube user Onyx.
Onyx is a fucking champion.
So YouTube user Onyx left our very first YouTube comment. So thanks, Onyx. We appreciate it.
Woo!
Hello. Yes, of course they're serious. Yes, of course. Oh, they'll be totally discreet. Thank you. We got one!
Now, we don't know much about Onyx, but what we do know is that they like black science, so we can assume a fairly refined comic palette. And they enjoy a little home DIY and woodworking, according to their public playlists. I didn't stalk this person, I swear. So, thanks for listening, Onyx, and thanks for leaving the very first comment that wasn't from one of our friends trying to be nice.
which is it's fantastic. It's like almost like validation that somebody's found it and liked the content enough to leave. And it was nice. I was 100% certain that our first comment or comments on a video was going to be horrible. And it turned out to be somebody just kind of adding to the conversation of what we were reading that week. And it's awesome. It was great.
Yeah. And Onyx made some suggestions that you will be hearing coming up on some future episodes. So
that's right.
Onyx, thank you again. And, let your friends know that you got your very own hero segment on a very good podcast and that they should all subscribe to it as well.
Yeah. Like and subscribe. Thumbs up. Go to all platforms and hit that subscribe button. Thank you.
Yes, please. Thanks, buddy. You're the best. All right. Well, that will do it for this week. Next week, we keep our heads low and our hands up when we check in on the Punisher.
Yes.
Jeremy is ready to dive back into the dark end of the pool, and I appreciate you doing it so that I don't have to. I just don't have the constitution for it.
That's pretty dark. The Old Man Logan stuff is pretty dark. All superheroes gone,
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe because I'm so familiar with it, the punch wasn't as severe. But yeah, I guess it does get a little dark.
Yeah, I mean, Hawkeye getting shot square between the eyes by Red Skull, that's... Or no, not by Fat Hitler, rather. That's rough.
Fat Hitler working for Red Skull. Stupid Fat Hitler.
Mein Kampf struggle with cookbookery.
There it is. All right. Well, I do hope you enjoy it. Since you're in the cooking state of mind, it's probably like a fine wine paired with an MRE. So enjoy. All right. Email us at mindingthemultiverse@gmail.com. Find us at This Multiverse on Twitter, or leave us a comment on YouTube to recommend story arcs. Tell us what we're wrong about. Or if you would like your very own segment on a podcast with roughly 20 subscribers, let us know. We'll do it. We love you guys.
Just leave those comments. You'll be our next heroes.
That's right. All right. For Minding the Multiverse, I am Gabriel.
And I'm Jeremy.
And remember, all of this is now canon.